everybody. Welcome to the Training, Learning, and Development community. Thanks for joining us today, this Wednesday, and we have a community member showcase to share with you all today. Chuck Jones is our guest. I'm really glad Chuck has decided to come in and participate with us. We're going to talk to Chuck a little bit about his background as an instructional designer and a trainer. He's been at it for over 20 years. And then also kind of a unique twist to all of this is a professional magician, which if any of you have attended like our Christmas party back in December where we did a virtual Christmas, a holiday thing, he had a table at the holiday event and was doing some tricks there at one of our virtual tables. Really, really fun stuff. So let's see, who have we got in? Kim, thanks for being here, Kim. Melissa, Perva, Elizabeth, thanks for joining us. So let's get into it, Chuck. I'm just gonna start asking you some questions. So a little bit about you. You work for your senior instructional advisor. Is it OrgWide? Yeah, OrgWide Custom Learning Solutions.
OrgWide Custom Learning Solutions, and I also work for the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, and so those are two really very different things. And we were talking earlier about that. So Department of Veteran Affairs, that is obviously like a federal.
And I work for an internal training department, so it's government. Yeah. And then with the OrgWide, that's an external training vendor, private sector. So, it's two totally different experiences. So I've actually had the benefit of being able to see training and development from both sides of the house. When you work for an internal training department, for instance, if you have a deadline and you're not able to meet the deadline, okay, you can work with the boss and, okay, we need to extend the deadline. When you work for an external training vendor and you have a deadline, you have a deadline. And, unless you don't want to go back to the client and say, we need to push this out a little bit because you've made promises and made agreements and everything else. So that's just one particular example. I could give you a dozen.
Is it hard to navigate between both? Do you ever get like a little confused or anything, or does it help to be able to work in both environments?
Well, I don't really get confused or anything else like that. The only confusion I think happens is during the day. I do a lot of e-learning for both jobs. So during the day, I'll be in Adobe Captivate and Camtasia Studio. And then in the evening, I'll switch over to Storyline. And there are days when I'm in all three, using all three development tools, which, by the way, kids, learn them all. Learn as many as you can.
Well, there you go. That's some great advice. But okay. So who's using Captivate and who's using Storyline?
I use Captivate during the day for VA and also Camtasia because we've put together a performance support video solution. And then in the evening, I have had one or two clients with OrgWide where I've done stuff in Captivate, but I would say 95% of what I've done with them has been in Storyline. And now we're starting to even use Rise a little bit. So that's another tool to add to the arsenal.
Wow. So that actually, being fluent in both the Articulate and the Adobe platforms, that must be a pretty, that's a nice skill set to have.
Yeah, it does help. In fact, several years ago when I was looking to take on some additional work, I knew the CEO of OrgWide and he said, hey, if you learn Storyline, we can talk. And I took him at his word. And within 2 weeks, I had a sample project to him and he looked at it, sent it to his team, and then they brought me in. So that was kind of cool. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Maybe we could have another broadcast where we can talk about the differences that you've seen or what you need to know about this one to be able to do this one, that kind of thing.
Yes.
I don't have any Storyline experience, but I used to use Captivate quite a bit. So, both of them, those are the primary tools like in this space, it feels like.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about before I get going, Elizabeth is asking, maybe he'll perform a little magic. I have a feeling he will perform a little magic, or Chuck will. So we'll get to that.
Time permitting.
time permitted. We'll
Yes.
definitely have some magic in there. But let's talk about what kind of projects are you working on right now?
Well, for VA, I've been working on for like more than 10 years, developing and maintaining a electronic performance support video system with over 140, maybe 150, 4, 5, 6 minute videos, some of them as many as 10 minutes, on how to do very specific processes. And so that's all of the things have been created, but now it's in the maintenance phase. And as things change, as processes change, we obviously have to modify the videos to keep up with all that so that everything is fresh. And then right now in the evening, during my other job, I'm creating a series. I mean, I'm talking dozens of e-learning assets and whatnot for a correctional and detention, a company that provides correctional and detention services.
So just tons of development is like, so your day is kind of just really embedded in tools, huh?
Yes, and that's why I enjoy doing magic, because it allows me to step out from behind the desk.
Right. The assets that you're developing in the evening, are they just video assets or?
And no, primarily e-learning courses. More recently, I've been doing some flip books, which I look at as pretty much level 1 e-learning. Text and next, as we used to call it, with maybe a pretty picture in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's what the client has asked for, so that's what we give them. And then, like I said, some e-learning courses as well. So, and that's kind of nice too, because I worked for, during the day, I work for one organization, and OrgWide has a great client list. And so I've done stuff for different hotel chains and, car companies that you've definitely heard of. Some of the nicer car companies too, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And, we've got a client tree out on the website. So if anybody wants to see that, they can go look.
Nice. I'm, just really curious, project wise, when you're building this stuff out, are there just major differences on how this stuff gets produced? So like during the day when you're working for the Veterans Affairs, like how do people who like the project management part of that? Do people do you get it in a completely different way than say the OrgWide process?
Yeah, during the day, it's more, it can be more soup to nuts. Now, I work very closely with our subject matter experts. We have 3 instructional designers, and we have, I think, 5 subject matter experts on the team right now. So I work very closely with them. I'm a training developer. I know a little bit about a whole lot of stuff, but give me a good subject matter expert, a knowledgeable subject matter expert, and I'll knock your socks off with some training. So I kind of do the whole process there, whereas in my evening, we have somebody else who's doing the instructional design stuff, working with the client, and then they generally give me a PowerPoint or a Word document even, and say, hey, open up Storyline and see what you can do. So,
yeah. So it must be much easier to be able to process through this stuff for OrgWide in the evenings.
Well, I mean, I've been doing it so long, it's not like it's rocket surgery anymore. It's when you've been working in these tools as long as I have and been creating I started with a program called Quest way back in 1900 and something, when you had to drag in each of your radio buttons and create all of the assets on your screen. If you wanted to do any simulations, you basically had to rebuild the whole screen. And it took me 6 months to do a project that I could probably have done in a week now. So,
Wow. So about projects, anything in particular, like, is there any project that you'd like to talk about that you're proud of? That's something that you might want to just mention that you're
one of the actually, I think it was the very first product I ever created back in 97, I think, 98, maybe 99, something like that. But it was putting together some e-learning in an HTML page, which I had never heard of, coding HTML. I had never done that before. And so I ended up going to Washington, D.C. and working with some of our external vendors who were assisting us with putting this training together. And the one instructional designer handed me a book by Peach Pit Press, and it was called HTML, and it was 4. It wasn't 5 yet, and it was 4. And she said, here's how you put in a picture. Here's how you put in text. Now see what you can do with it. And when she came back the next morning, I had stayed in the office till like midnight getting this thing done. But, once I did that, I'm like, okay, I kind of like this stuff. And then I used my first authoring tool, this program called Quest, within a year after that. I also used Authorware. I'm sure some people have heard of Authorware.
Right.
Stuff that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, because if you're talking 97, that's like really, I mean, you were still probably stuff was getting dropped onto CDs and
we were doing CDs, and boy, let me tell you, when you were creating something at 800 by 600 on a CD, and then they told you that it needed to go onto a web page, and it was 640 by 480. It's like, screen resolution. Back in the day, that's all it was. And it's like, okay, I've got to recreate this, but now I need to shrink all my graphics down. Change the font size of my text. And, it was a lot harder than just shrink it down.
Yeah. Everything wasn't as dynamic or responsive as it is now. Like,
no, not at all. Not at all.
Everything. All right. That's legit. That's legit stuff. Wow. You have really been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. And there was the reason I'm really tickled with that first project was the company that developed the software. They had a conference in Salt Lake City, and they had a little competition kind of thing. It was the very first product I had developed with their software or at all. Other than that HTML one. Yeah. And it picked up Best in Show in their little awards ceremony that they had there. And it's like, wow. And I still have that on my shelf over there to this very day. And that was in 1999. So
wow.
Some of you guys out there probably weren't even born then.
No, yeah, probably most everybody. No, I don't know. But okay, so let's move a little bit. Let's talk about some of the magic stuff now. Now, what similarities do you see between instructional design and magic? Like,
well, first of all, I've been talking a lot about e-learning, but of course, having done training for as many years as I have, I've done professional development training. I've done coaching and mentoring training, business, all kinds of leadership development stuff. I mean, and then also done software training and application training. So the sky's the limit. I've done a lot of it. So I've already gotten past the whole issue that some of my fellow magicians have. I can stand up on stage and I can talk to people.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And I can also tell stories because that's what I like doing, is telling stories. But, when you're talking about magic and when you're talking about training, the common thing is you want to make both of them engaging. You want to make them interactive. And you definitely, on both of them, you hope that you can create that wow moment where you can get your content into somebody's long-term memory and help them retain it, and what I like about incorporating the two when I have that opportunity is by providing that wow moment with a little bit of magic and having some training content coming along with that, it just finds its place right in the people remember the magic because they were wowed by it, but they also remember the message that went along with that, which, generally is a piece of training content that I want, people to know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that because it seems like those wow moments just in themselves are like, they feel like they're magic. Can you tell us can you share a story about a time that maybe you created that wow moment with magic? And
Yeah, I do this trick where I tear up a newspaper. No, that's another trick I do, but I'll tell you the one trick that I do that really helps. During my day job, it's all related to managerial cost accounting. So we're talking about data in and data out, and how data isn't changed through this particular process. Through what we do, data is not changed, it's not destroyed, it's just put in a different way so that the end user can get what they need from it. Okay, so I've got this thing where I have somebody come up with preferably a $100 bill, but I'll take a 20, and they sign it. And then I fold it up, put it under a handkerchief, have the person hold on to it. Then I take the handkerchief and the bill has vanished. Okay. So then I talk about that. Okay. That's the data in. Okay. So it's not here right now because it went into the database itself. So, the extract is already done. So now it's in the database. And so then I point to a Crown Royal bag. Okay. And I say, that's going to be our database. And then of course we got to have the output. So I open up the Crown Royal bag and there's an orange or a lemon. And then I take the knife and I cut open the lemon or the orange. I twist it open, and inside there's a 20 or a $100 bill rolled up, stuck in the center. And I say, well, there's that was our extract. Now it's going to be our output. So we pull it out. They take it. They open it up. Sure enough, it's got their signature on it.
Wow. What a wonderful way to be able to train people. I'm sure that their just minds are blown and that is like stuck with them forever.
Yeah, I've done that for a group of mental health folks down in Washington, D.C., probably about 3 years in a row. So it's a lot of fun doing that.
That is great. So what is like your favorite part of being a trainer and instructional designer?
Well, my favorite part is the part I do the least right now is getting up in front of people and watching them, connecting with them. And you can see, just like when you do magic, you can see when you've made that connection. If you're doing it right, you can see that, oh, I get it moment, on your learner's face. You can see that.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite part. I don't get to see that with the e-learning development. And of course, now we're doing a lot of virtual stuff, virtual synchronous over Teams and Zoom and all that stuff. So you don't get to see it, but that's my absolute favorite moment. Now, I've done a lot of voiceover work for all of my videos that I've created. So about 2 years ago, when I went to give training, stand-up training, everybody's like, you're the guy whose voice is on all of those videos. So, I'm like, okay, now you got a face to the voice. So that was kind of cool too. They feel like they knew me.
It seems like there's probably more similarities between instructional design and magic than we even realize, because, those wow moments, those aha moments, just, enlightening somebody as to, like educating them. It's kind of, it's very, very
helping people to challenge their assumptions about what they think they know. You see, when I take a newspaper, this is what the other thing I was mentioning is I'll take a newspaper and I'll rip it to shreds, right? And then I put all the pieces back together. And then I take a step back and I just do, and the whole newspaper just opens up, fully restored. And I page through it. And everybody, I even tell people at the beginning, look for a picture or an ad or a headline, something that you can remember. And And I've used that in training before as well. Talking about, a lot of times you talk about change management and making the impossible possible, breaking things down and then building them back up. That trick I just told you about with the newspaper, that's perfect for that kind of thing. So,
right.
If I want to incorporate magic, I think, okay, what is it that I want to get across? What's my training content? And then I think, okay, what's its very essence? Are we talking about change management? Are we talking about making the impossible possible? What is it that we're trying to do? Are we doing teamwork? And then it's like, okay, so let's find something that will support that. So,
wow, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, now I'm kind of curious. Like, I guess a two-part question: what got you into instructional design or training? Like, what's your origin story into that? And then I'd also like to hear about that with magic as well.
Well, with instructional design and training, back in, I worked in human resources back in the early 1990s, and I had to develop a class on the performance appraisal system. I've been with the VA that long, almost 35 years now. Wow. And when I developed that was the first time I ever put a training class together, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I thought that was kind of cool. And then I got into an intern program with the Veterans Health Administration with HR, and I actually helped close a medical center out in California, and we had to I had to give training to employees on board a moving bus. I had to teach them how to survive a job interview. And it was on board a moving bus as we were going from San Francisco up to Martinez, California, if anybody knows where those places are. Yeah. And that was probably my most unusual training experience. But I just fell in love with it, and enjoying teaching and training people. And then as far as the magic, I got into it when I was a kid. Most magicians will tell you they got into it when they were 7 or 8 years old. And then as a teenager, I kind of fell away from it. And then my wife and I would go on cruises every year. And I remember in 2010, I saw a magician. His name was Scott Alexander, very famous magician. And he did this amazing trick. And after that, I told my wife on the flight home, I said, I used to do magic when I was a kid, and I saw that guy, and I was like, I would like to do that again someday. And it was another 6 years before I did that, before I got back into it. But now the bug has bit me, and working on my post-retirement career.
Oh, nice. So,
the white hair will tell you I'm a little get around a little bit.
I hear you. So just like as a performer and as a trainer, is that something that you feel really goes hand in hand?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Being able to make that connection with people. Especially during the pandemic, I was doing shows online on Zoom, which is amazing because you think about it, you can really establish that connection. And so when I'm able to connect one-on-one with an individual, either in the classroom or even virtually or on the stage, and like I said, you see that aha moment.
Yeah.
And what's amazing for me in both situations, because it happens in both situations, is sometimes you'll see somebody turn to their person next to them, a complete stranger who they haven't met. Wow, look at that. Did you see that? And I've seen that in the training environment as well as in magic.
Yeah.
So now I've helped establish a connection between two people who are strangers who are now having a shared experience. And so they're talking, right. So that's kind of cool too.
That is so great. That's great, Chuck. Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about because I've seen it. Like we've had people on this broadcast before. A lot of theater folks. I mean, Kim is in the audience right now. She's a singer and performer, and we just even myself, I perform music as well. So it seems like it's kind of a natural thing for a lot of performance focused people to get into training and to do this stuff. All right, cool. So, we've got like a few minutes left. Would you want to share some magic with us? Is it as simple as just,
Oh,
ask for a few tricks?
I have a prediction here.
Okay.
Okay. I have a prediction. Now, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to stick it in fold it up here and stick it in my pocket so that there's no way anybody can question and say, well, maybe you had a different envelope or maybe you picked something up differently. Okay. So, I dropped my Sharpie. Ow. See, that was a joke. Okay. So I have a number pad here, a pad with numbers. Now, somebody right now is probably looking at this going, okay, that adds up. By the way, this isn't backwards on screen, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay, cool. Because for me, it's looking backwards here. Okay, so I've got 397, 856, 526, 579, and 513. This sum down here matters nothing. So, Louis, here's what I want you to do. 3, 9, or 7. Give me a number. 3, 9, or 7.
9.
9. Okay. 8, 5, or 6.
6.
5, 2, or 6.
2.
5, 7, or 9.
7.
5, 1, or 3.
5.
Oh, I'm sorry. 5. There we go. Okay. 3 or 7.
3.
Okay. 8 or 5.
5.
5 or 6.
6.
5 or 9.
5.
5. 1 or 3.
1.
Okay, so then that leaves us 7, 8, 5, 9, 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, 5 and 1 is 6, 9. 9 and 5 is 14, 21, 2 and 2 is 4, and 6 is 10.
15.
Okay, 6 and 1 is 7. 8, 9, 10, 12, and 8 is 20, right?
Yeah.
6, 7. Yeah, okay. 12, okay. 9 and 2 is 11, and 3 is 14, and 7 is 21, right?
Yeah.
All right, so is my math correct?
Yeah, your math is correct.
Let's take a look at my predictions, shall we?
Yeah.
It's the only piece of paper in here.
Okay. Hey, look at that. That's pretty good. Okay.
Now, you know what? I wanted this to be memorable because today is 2021, May 19th.
Oh man, that is great. Oh, I love it.
So there you go.
Excellent.
Making the impossible possible.
Yeah, Chuck, that is fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that.
No problem. Glad I could.
Yeah. So I will definitely hit you up. If and when I ever start doing live conferences again, I gotta have you there. And
I'll be there.
Yeah, I will reach out. Look at there. Melissa, Mathemagic. I love it. And
there's more where that came from.
Excellent. Can you pitch any? Are you going to be anywhere in particular? I know you said you had a big performance coming up.
Yeah, I've actually got a stage show coming up with 3 other guys, including that guy named Scott Alexander, who inspired me to get back in. He's actually now my mentor.
Oh,
And
nice.
I've got a show with him and two other guys coming up next Friday. If anybody is near Harvard of Grace, Maryland, I'll be at the State Theater.
Nice.
And and there's some other things I'm working on this summer. I'm actually producing my own show right now, working on that. So that'll be out next year. And what I'm doing during this show will be part of that. So
nice.
Trying to get it lined up for when I retire.
There you go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to drop in the chat here. So folks, connect with Chuck, and Chuck, keep me posted if you've got any shows coming up, anything like that, or even if you have any conference appearances coming up.
I sure will. Now, see, I don't do just math. See, I also do making the impossible possible.
Oh, great. Wow. Nice. Thanks, Chuck. I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us today and to share a little bit about yourself. Looking forward to meeting you at some point. And
absolutely. Same here.
Thanks again. Thanks for supporting TLDC, and everyone. We'll see you next time. We've got Jamie Villanueva coming up on Friday, and lots of other showcases coming up. It's just important for me to keep this dialogue going. But Chuck, thanks again for your time, and we'll see you again soon.
All righty. Take care, y'all. Bye-bye now.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.